Donnelly. 99.9 The Fan. I'm Tim Donnelly. Dennis Cox back with us after going on a little bit of a road trip yesterday.
Yeah, a train ride.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's not a road trip. You weren't on the road. You were on the tracks.
Yeah.
Up to Charlotte to see the North Carolina Tar Heels advance out of the first round. Survive and advance?
That they did. Which, by the way, if you've never been to an NCAA tournament event, if you ever get a chance to go, which, by the way, PNC Arena will be getting NCAA tournament games next year.
There you go.
If you ever get a chance to go, even if you're not rooting for a team, go. Worth the experience.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, totally
I
worth
think
the experience.
there's like 10 sporting events in the world where it's just like, if somebody's, hey, I got tickets, you go, yes.
Yeah.
I'll find the babysitter, right? Like you do what you got to do to go, and the NCAA tournament is one of them. Let's talk NC State. They beat Texas Tech yesterday. The run stays hot. Survive and advance stays alive for NC State. They have now won 6 straight games, 5 straight in 5 days at the ACC tournament, and they opened up with a pretty, had it in control win against Texas Tech. I'm actually, and State fans, hear me out on this before you get really mad. I'm leaning away from the term survive and advance. Keep in mind, I understand the branding of it will forever be locked on. Like every time State wins a tournament game, I know it's just going to be there. But from an actual representation of what NC State is doing, I don't think survive and advance is accurate. It's a good brand. It's just not a good description. I'm leaning on thrive and advance, just to keep the same rhyme scheme. Thrive and advance, because they were the better team. Survive, to me, implies like you were beat up and broken. Like for those of you that watch Survivor, right? They do the before and after pictures, or at least they used to back when it was truly about surviving. They would show you how much weight you lost. They would show you, the beard had grown all mangy and they looked battered and broken, but they survived. Like, to me, that's survive and advance, right? You're winning every game by 2. You're finding a way. You're beg, borrowing, stealing. NC State is not that. At least they weren't against Texas Tech. They had the 4 best players on the court at any point in time.
They won that game pulling away.
And it looked like they were just kind of waiting to decide when to pull away. It wasn't even like something clicked. It was that they were just better. And it started with the big guys. Shout out to the big boys. DJ Burns is America's sweetheart, and I know everybody likes him. He was the 3rd leading scorer of just big guys on NC State last night. He's this offensive marvel. He has all the post moves. He can hit the spins, and he can hit the touch and the lefty hooks and everything. He was the 3rd leading scorer of big men on NC State yesterday. The big guys. I think it was obvious. State noticed early in that game that Texas Tech was soft in the post, and they just went, let's keep doing it. Yeah. Ben Middlebrooks was hitting up and under reverse layups and getting fouled like it was his job. Do you know what his job is, literally, for NC State? Toughness, rebounding, a little bit of enforcer. Yesterday he was like, yeah, but what if I scored 20 plus? What would that be like?
What if I hit this reverse layup?
What if I pump fake, drive baseline, go up and under, put it off the glass softly, and get the bucket? What would that be like? Be pretty awesome. Here's Ben Middlebrooks giving credit to his teammates.
I mean, I got to give a lot of the credit for that to the guards. I mean, you got guys like DJ Horn out there drawing a lot of attention to himself. I mean, drawing traps and things like that makes it easy for kind of pick and rolls and things like that. And then obviously Michael O'Connell, I mean, the vision that he has, being able to find me on some of those things for easy layups. And I mean, they really just make it easy. So, I mean, I got to give a lot of that to them.
Yeah, he handled it well. I think it was obvious. Do you know what was my favorite play of the entire game? And it probably wasn't for many. There was a play where DJ Burns had it in the post. He was on the right block, right? And he did his 2 power dribbles and didn't like what he saw, so he kicked it out to Michael O'Connell. and Michael O'Connell had just thrown it into the post. He was the post entry pass, right? So it was a little one-handed bounce pass into DJ Burns. He surveyed the situation, took a dribble or two, kicked it back out to Michael O'Connell. Michael O'Connell possessed the ball for 0.3 seconds and gave it right back to DJ Burns, like with attitude. It was like he caught it, went, no, right back. Like, no, once we give it to you, we don't have a plan on the perimeter. Our plan is once we get it to DJ Burns or Ben Middlebrooks or Mo Diarra down low, you guys kind of take it from there. You guys have the weak link, and they took advantage of it. So when they kicked it out, O'Connell was like, what are you doing? Right back. Don't pass it to me. Here's Kevin Keats on the advantage they had in the down low.
Really good, well-coached Texas Tech team, and they pushed us to the limit. I thought we had a incredible size advantage. When you look at DJ Burns and you look at the way Ben played, and then Mo, I thought those guys really delivered for us inside and did a lot of good things. And we got stronger in the second half. I thought we started defending. I thought more in the first half was more of an offensive game, and we decided to sit down and defend and did some good things. And then we completely played the game through our post. We kind of went inside out, and I think it really worked out for us.
DJ Horn played with Washington. They're the Texas Tech 7-footer. They were together at Arizona State. Texas Tech's best post defender, I guess. I wish I could be a fly on the wall for the conversation DJ Horn had with DJ Burns. I got to get my DJ straight. Go DJ. With DJ Burns, Ben Middlebrooks, and Mo Diarra, where he was giving the scouting report on Washington. Where he was like, listen, guys, right? The donut sign, right? Hot and fresh when the neon's lit up and you're driving by. And
that hot sign's on? I've seen car accidents happen because of that thing.
Like, hey, guys, Washington, hot and fresh, right? Eat. Go through the drive-thru, right? Get yours, get a dozen, come back in a couple hours, see if the sign's still on, get another dozen. That's the conversation they had to have. Do you know what is my biggest concern for the post players for State? And by the way, I believe they have another advantage in the post against Oakland. We'll talk about it later on. But there's nobody that plays more than 7 minutes a game for Oakland that's taller than 6'7". So they're going to have another post advantage. I would not be surprised if they ran their offense through the post again.
Just don't let that one guy shoot 10 3-pointers or shoot 20, make 10.
Well,
there's your
Golke,
scout.
Golke, there you go.
Yeah, there's your scout.
The concern I have is refs that haven't seen DJ Burns before. Because there were a few plays where he was doing his finesse thing and he got called for a charge. Just because he's big and the other guy flopped. You have to be aware that he's not trying to necessarily just beat you with overpowering. He has the skill and the finesse and the kind of varied movements to avoid those fouls. Because if you put DJ, like if you say when he makes contact with his shoulder in someone's chest, even if he's just setting you up for the spin move, right? If he's not even trying to lower his shoulder like it's 4th and 1 and he needs a yard, if he's just trying to, lean on you to make you brace so he can hit the spin, if you call that a charge, then it's very tough for DJ Burns just to exist because he's so big you're going to be calling charges. The refs flirted with that against Texas Tech. Flirted with the, hey, big guy, there's a charge. And I'm going like, would that be a charge if you were 40 pounds lighter? So maybe the concern, like the benefit is these defensive teams, these defensive players haven't seen DJ Burns before. A concern might be these refs haven't seen DJ Burns before and are used to reffing guys that are that big in a different way. Just something to pay attention to as the tournament moves along. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. NC State beat Texas Tech. UNC smoked Wagner. It maybe wasn't the fastest start, but they got the dub. What does that say about North Carolina in their first-round game and obviously going into their game against Michigan State tomorrow? UNC talk coming up. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. We're here this morning because there's basketball on 99.9 The Fan all afternoon.
All day.
Well, yes.
Up until the Canes play.
Exactly. And the afternoon is why we can't be on in our afternoon slot 3 to 6. So we jump up to 10 to noon, get you ready for the day of tournament action and recap the previous day of tournament action. UNC was on a business trip against Wagner. It was only to Charlotte. It's like a day trip.
Yeah.
You go up, have some meetings. You can sleep in your own bed that night. I'm sure they're not, but you get what I'm saying. Like, they carried a briefcase to that game against Wagner.
It was a home game.
And you know what's kind of cool? And this we got from insight from Dennis, who was there in the postgame. They were upset.
Oh yeah.
Which is the sign of a perfectionist, right? If they were speaking of business, if they were in an interview and they were asked, what's your biggest weakness? They would say, I'm too hard on myself. Right? I'm too much of a perfectionist. I drive myself crazy trying to do the perfect job for you. That's the biggest flaw I have in myself. I will work too hard. It ruins my work-life balance. I put my work over everything. They won the game. They covered the spread. They won by a bunch. They disposed of a 16 seed, and they're still kind of unhappy with how they played. It's a perfectionist. Here's R.J. Davis after the game.
I think in the first half, we didn't do a good job of getting down to primary break. We had 0 fast break points going to the halftime, so the emphasis in the second half was try to get out and run, because that's a big advance for us, especially when we're playing in primary and getting easy layups. And we did a good job of kind of turning the ball over and getting finished in easy layups. I know there was a play when I threw the ball to Elliott and then Jay Witt finished with dunk. So those are the type of plays that we needed.
It did feel very much like he was trying not to be arrogant. Right? It's really hard to come across as upset in a post game when you win by like 25 without kind of disrespecting your opponent. Right? You can't come out and say, "Oh, we played terrible. Man, we were unhappy with." I mean, that whole first half was we just weren't ourselves. We need to get more. You won by a bunch, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yes.
I mean, granted, the pull away really didn't start happening until about the last 10 minutes of the second half. I mean, early in the game, I think they hit 8 of their first 9 shots, but they also had 5 or 6 unforced turnovers in that first half. So they were kind of sloppy with the ball at times. Either they were getting good looks and layups, or they were turning the ball over. Like, it was a sloppy start for them for sure.
One might call it a sluggish start.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Armando Bacot.
I thought early on we definitely were somewhat flat, but that's usual. Tournament game, just it's weird. And but I thought we did a good job of settling in.
Settling in. It seems like that's what they were going with. Mm-hmm. Once we settled in. Let's go over the good for them. Bacot, historic, 20-15. It is his 6th straight NCAA tournament game with 15 rebounds.
Yeah.
That's absurd. That's historic. R.J. Davis was an All-American, super efficient on his way to 22 points. Did not do the R.J. Davis thing, which he's done at times this year, where he's like, oh, I'm getting my 20, and it didn't matter if it took him 25 shots to get there. He was efficient. He shot above 50%, and he got his 22. All-American. Jalen Withers, big off the bench.
Oh, yeah.
In more ways than one. He had the emphatic dunk to kind of seal it. He played good minutes. Here's Jalen Withers on a big-time performance right there near his hometown.
It's extremely rewarding. I mean, honestly, having a double-double in front of, a lot of my family members in the stands and, contributing to the win is great, honestly. First time in the tournament, so, doing that in the first game is definitely surreal.
Those are the good. That's the good. Then I have another category calling the could be better, but they didn't need it, so I'm not at all worried about it. It's a very long category. Elliott Cadeau. The exact opposite of his first ACC tournament game. If you go back and listen to our show, we did another morning, like a tournament tailgate edition of the drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan before the ACC tournament, before UNC's first game. And what I said was everybody on North Carolina was experienced. Everybody had played a bunch of years in their rotation except for Elliot Cadeau. So I was like, I put the target on him, right? If I'm an opposing team, I'm making him make decisions. I'm blitzing him when he has the ball. I'm putting him in the pick and roll defense because he's the guy we didn't know how it would handle. And then he made me look real dumb by saying that because he came out in his first ACC tournament game and was the best player on the floor for the first 8 minutes.
Yeah, he was lights out.
And he was picked up 3 steals as soon as I blinked, and he was finishing at the bucket, and he was throwing alley-oops, and I was like, you know what? All right, maybe I shouldn't worry about this guy like I do most freshmen. So I didn't say that before their NCAA tournament debut, and guess what? He looked like a freshman. After the game, he was very upset with himself. It was the exact opposite of his ACC tournament debut, but that's fine. He's a freshman. They didn't need him. Assuming he knocked the rust off or the jitters out or whatever you want to call it, he'll be good to go moving forward.
There are a lot of guys like Jalen Withers, Harrison Ingram, Elliot Cadeau. There are a lot of these guys were their first ever NCAA tournament game outside of R.J. Davis and Armando Bacot.
Who had experience to
who
pass
actually
around.
experienced it. I think Cormac Ryan may have played once in the NCAA tournament with Notre Dame. But nonetheless, this is the first time for a lot of these guys playing in the tournament.
Harrison Ingram, let's talk about him. His first NCAA tournament game, as you just brought up. Quiet?
Yeah.
Not good. I don't want to say he had a bad game. It was just
He shot 4-7, 1 of 2 from behind the arc.
it just it wasn't an often game. It wasn't a high volume game. He was just got his cardio in, ran up and down the court a whole bunch. Didn't make any huge blunders, didn't make any massive plays. He was just out there. Which is funny because I talk about, the shapeshifter, the amorphous blob. He is a liquid. He fits into the shape of his container. All of this has been explained throughout. If you haven't been listening to the show in the afternoons, we've explained it. But basically, he molds into whatever they need. His middle name is Claybor, which is appropriate because he's kind of a ball of clay that you can mold into whatever tool you need for that game. I've also described him as Batman. I feel like people that have not been a part of these conversations about Harrison Ingram are like, wait a second, you called him that, and Batman? Okay. The reason why I call him Batman is because he kind of goes wherever he's called, right? Wherever the bat signal pops up, that's where he goes. If you need a rebound, if you need for a game him to get 20 rebounds, he gets darn near 20 rebounds. If you need him to knock down threes, he can pop in 3, 4, 5 threes. He goes where the game calls him. So what if there's a game where you just don't need him? What if there's a game where the bat signal never shines, right? It's just a good day in Gotham. Everybody's having fun. Joker's in jail. What does Batman do? He just hangs out, right? Goes to a charity ball as Bruce Wayne. Hangs out with Alfred in the cave. So Harrison Ingram may have just been hanging out, right? He's the guy that didn't get the call. And Cormac Ryan shot 2 of 6 from 3. It's not the end of the world. There might be a game down the road where you're playing a team that's better, more accomplished, where you need him to either shoot better or higher volume. You're going to need his spacing. You didn't against Wagner. But there's a lot of things you didn't need against Wagner. You had R.J. Davis and Bacot doing their thing, and you had Withers providing a kind of unexpected spark. There's a lot you didn't need. There might be a game where you need Cormac Ryan to knock down 4 threes. Again, that whole category there, Cadeau, Ingram, Ryan, could have been better, but they didn't need it at all, so I'm not worried. That is the name of the category. It's a long name. It's a good name. Now you get Michigan State. We're going to talk about that later on. But Tom Izzo, he'll test you where you're weakest.
Oh, yeah.
He's legendary for his prep in short weeks in the NCAA tournament. And if you think he wasn't already aware of what North Carolina did anyway, so he's a college basketball coach, you're going to get tested in a different way than you did against Wagner against Michigan State. They're actually kind of a nightmare second round matchup.
Yeah, there's going to be some really interesting matchups. We're definitely going to dive into this a little later on, but there's some watching Michigan State play against Mississippi State early on. I was like, this is going to be I think there's going to be some intriguing matchups, especially for Harrison Ingram.
That's what we call a tease, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to that in the second hour of the show, in the 11 o'clock hour of the show. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. When we come back, Seth Jarvis, take a bow. Canes win last night. Stick around.
Kane is in the building.
Now it's Burns and Jarvis on a 2-on-1. The two friends coming in. Burns has it to Jarvis. Scores!
Oh, baby, the elder statesman and his protege team up to win this thing.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. That's what it sounded like last night in overtime. Seth Jarvis You know why they had to go to overtime? You know why they had to give up the goal late so it was 2-2 so they'd go to overtime?
Why?
Because Jarvis had some streaks he had to keep up.
Yeah, I'm with it.
He hadn't scored yet. They're like, he might need an extra couple minutes. Let's go to overtime, and that way he can have his, 6 goals in 5 games. He can have his 6 straight games. There's a whole bunch of streaks he's on. Canes needed overtime, but another win. Rod, meaning Rod Brindamore, the head coach, I probably didn't think it was their best game they've played as of late. Probably didn't think it was their most aesthetically pleasing game. He was not having the best time of his life on the bench, but a win is a win. Here's Rod after the game.
Clearly not a great game by us. So other than the goaltending and our penalty kill, did a nice job. Got a couple posts there on the 5-on-3, but we were pretty good on that. And, overall, just we needed to be better, that's for sure. But like you said, it's tough to cry about a win. I'm happy we got the 2 points, but we know we need to be a little bit better.
Do you know what it is? And this is my take on it. They needed to be better. Well, actually, they didn't need to be any better because they got the win. They would have liked to have been better. But it's another type of win. They're on a 5-game win streak right now. They've done it no 2 games alike, right? There has been a time where the Canes were like a Canes win was a brand, right? That's how the Canes win. For the Canes to win, they need to win 2-1. They need to win 3-1. They need to win 2-0. Like there was just a brand. Now it does seem like they're more versatile. In their last 5 games, they've won with a shutout victory. They've won in a dramatic come-from-behind victory that it led to a shootout. They've won in a blowout victory where they scored 7 goals. They've won in a more traditional, straight up and down like 6 o'clock 4-1 victory. And now they've held off a dramatic comeback to win in overtime while they played poorly. All of these games are different. I described it as like when you see a football team win a game 10-7, then the next week they win 45-38, and you just realize they're like, oh, like that they ask the other team, how you want this? How you want this butt kicking? You want to play fast or slow? Right?
It's whatever you need this week.
It's Michael Jordan talking trash, right? You want me to go left or right? You want me to shoot a jumper? You want me to get down low? You want me to get a layup? You want me to dunk? What do you want me to do? Shut up, man. Just play basketball. No, I'm how do you think you can stop me? Right? I'm trying to help you. The Canes are kind of hitting that move. Right? Like, oh, you want to get up and down the ice? You want to play fast? Cool. I don't know if you've heard of our new guys. This is Gensel and Kuznetsov, and they're paired with Aho and Jarvis, and they're ready to run. You want to run? We can run. Oh, you want to play? You want to slow it down? You want to play it in the mud? I don't know if you've heard about the Canes and what we've done the last 5 years, but we're comfortable.
Beat my captain, Jordan Stahl.
Yeah, exactly. Jordan Stahl, Slavin, like some of these guys, Burns, some of these guys are comfortable. You want to get into a fist fight? Cool. Like,
have you met my friend Brendan?
Yeah, a literal fist fight. Yeah. Have you? We call him Pep because it's funny when he beats you up, and we're sitting there yelling, "Yeah, Peppy." I don't want to act like they go out trying to do this, where they're going out saying like, hey, let's see if we can win one ugly. Hey, let's see if we can win one in a shootout. But as long as you're still getting wins, it's good to have all of this experience in a varied group of games, varied style of games. Look at the sweep, right? And I know you don't want to bring it up too often, but look at the sweep last year in the Eastern Conference Finals at the hands of the Panthers. You lost a 4-overtime game. You lost a 1-overtime game, low scoring. You lost a 1-0 shutout. You lost a more traditional 4-3 game, right? You have to be ready to play every kind of game, even within a postseason series, against the same team every night. Right? You can't have like a spot. What I mean by that is you hear NBA players saying like, oh, he can get to his spots. Right? A basketball player is like, hey, I'm good from the left wing. I'm good from the corner. I'm good from the extended elbow. Like I have my spots and I got to use my basketball IQ to get there. You can't have one spot. You can't have like, hey, I have a sweet spot. on the left wing. If I can get there, I shoot 80%. Everywhere else, I shoot 20%. Because guess what? Teams are just gonna go, all right, fine. Don't let them get to the left wing, right? So if the Canes had one style of game that they were the best in the league at, teams would just do everything possible to make it a different style of game. Don't let them get to a defensive battle. And that's what these last 5 games are proving, and that's what these last 5 games are doing. We show up, we don't have our A game, like last night. We'll grind. We'll find a way. Jarvis will come through in the overtime period. We show up, we do have our good stuff, 7-2. Smoke it. Show up and our goalie is standing on his head, we can win a shutout game. Like there's a bunch of different ways they can win, and last night was just another one to check off the box. Now they play again tonight. You know me, if you listen to the show often enough, I love a simulated playoff series, right? I love situations that make it seem like the postseason. Well, back-to-backs and everything make you feel tired, right? Little fatigue. Guess what a postseason series does? Makes you feel tired, makes you feel fatigued. You're going on the road and have to play your best. You're at Washington. Oh, emotions. Guess what happened in postseason games? Emotions get riled up. Guess what might happen in a postseason series against Washington when you have Kuznetsov, who's playing in his first game against his old team. When you have Orlov, who along with Kuznetsov has a lot of really, really good memories in Washington. Might be a little emotion there. Either use it to your advantage or check it at the door. It's just another situation, and that's all this is. From the moment the trade deadline happened, I've been adamant that the rest of the regular season is about making sure you are finely tuned, best preparation possible for the postseason, right? Get your lines figured out, who plays well with who, get your power play figured out, who plays well with who, get the chemistry built up. They've been doing it all very, very well. And part of that might just be because the new guys are pieces that are easy to play with. Mm-hmm. It's not exactly like, hey, I got a guy that likes to set up his opponents and finishes near the goal. I think I know how to play with that guy. Like those things are good, but you need to keep doing it, get in different situations, and see how they react.
Well, one thing we got to keep in mind as well, the Canes had 3 of their regular forwards out yesterday.
Good point.
No Jesper Foss, who's been apparently nursing something, so did not see him yesterday. Teuvo Teravainen and Jack Drury did skate in the morning skate yesterday. Teravainen, upper body injury, Jack Drury, lower body injury. Weren't able to actually give it a go in the game last night, but they're nearing a return. So you played with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen yesterday, so you didn't even actually look nowhere near how you will we anticipate they'll be in come playoff time. So you had to work through that yesterday too. So there's still a lot of things for them to work with. When those 3 guys we mentioned at forward, when they come back, okay, who's out of the lineup? We know one of the defensemen, Tony DeAngelo, will be out. Mm-hmm. Who are the other 2 forwards? Likely Brendan Lemieux. Is it Jesperi Kotkaniemi that comes out? Then you got to figure out, all right, what are my line combinations? Who's playing where in what situation? So there's still a ton for this team to figure out late in the season.
You're counting DeAngelo last night? You think they played with 7? You think they played with 7 defenders?
Played 3+ minutes, but he did play. But nonetheless, that was the situation yesterday.
Yeah, we were joking off air that they played with 11 forwards and like 6 1/3 defenders, which I think is a fair way to describe the effort that was put out there and the intensity that was put out there by DeAngelo. I'm not even like, obviously, former team sport guy. Whatever your role is, you have to be a star in your role. You have to embrace it. You have to go for it. You have to do it. There is some logic to, oh, you mean he wasn't the most engaged guy after being a healthy scratch for 2 months, and then the game that he is activated, he plays 3 minutes and change? Like, you're telling me he wasn't the most checked-in player?
Against the team he played for? Played with last year?
Against a team that he probably wanted to show some things? Color me shocked, right? Like that I do see there is something there, but he's definitely not earning himself more active minutes the way he handled last night. But he may think it's a lost cause. Who am I to judge?
And speaking of the defense, they keep scoring. Jalen Chatfield scored again.
Let's be
Absolute
real.
howitzer.
Do you know what? Every time Chatty scores, I hear cha-ching. That guy's price is he's playing himself into something. He is earning his stripes, as they say, and rightfully so. I mean, if you're a guy that is as good as he is on defense, it doesn't take a ton of offense to make you a little bit of money. But I mean, when you're ripping heaters from distance and putting them on target and they're one-timers, it's like, you know what? This guy might be worth a little bit more than we thought he was worth. I think the Canes might be thinking, why didn't we lock him up to a little bit of a long-term deal before he started scoring all these goals? But hey, you're not going to complain about it. That's a private jet problem. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. We have real bold predictions. It's a Friday. If you don't listen to our show in the afternoon, I promise you these real bold predictions are unlike anything you hear others places in sports media. Stick around.
saw your mean pride.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. We had some YouTube comments, which, by the way, we are live on YouTube. 99.9 The Fan. Please subscribe. We had some YouTube comments basically going, wait, why are you guys live at 10:45 in the morning? Well, I don't know if everybody's heard, and I hope you sense the sarcasm in my voice. There's a basketball tournament going on today.
Pretty big one.
Pretty big one. You kind of build towards it all season.
Yep.
So we're going to be airing those games here on 99.9 The Fan this afternoon, which means to get our daily fill of the drive, we've moved it up to 10 to noon today. So we're on from 10 a.m. to noon, and it's allowing us to get our yayas out, and then we get to go watch basketball all afternoon. So let's get the yayas out.
So, yeah, we have, starting at noon, NCAA tournament action, Westwood 1 coverage, all the way up until Stormwatch at 6:30 with Adam today. So Stormwatch 6:30 as the Canes are up in Washington. So then we have Stormwatch starting at 6:30. But tonight, because Duke is in action, they play this evening. I think it's 7:30, 7:45, something along those lines. But they play this evening, so you can actually hear that game, the Duke broadcast, over on Buzz Sports Radio as well. So if you want to hear wall-to-wall action of basketball, we got you, fam.
7:10 is the
Okay,
opening
there you
tip.
go. So pregame for them should start at about 6.
But keep in mind that all these games are played in the same gym. Like one overtime game, and suddenly 7:10 becomes 7:35, 8 o'clock.
There's a
8:15.
reason why the state game ended at like 12:30 last night or whatever it was.
I was thinking that was a huge side note before we get to real bold predictions. I was thinking that was a huge disadvantage for state until I remembered Mo Diarra is in the middle of Ramadan right now, so he can't eat until sundown. The 9:40, 9:50, whatever start time made it so he could like get a pregame meal in and be like during the ACC tournament. He was playing elite level college basketball and on very little calories until about halftime. So it was a little bit of a nice thing for him, I'm sure. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Let's jump to real bold predictions. If this is your first time hearing this, you are about to experience real bold predictions. Authentic, certified, authentic, farm-to-table bold predictions. What that means is we have a checks and balances system, right? We can't, every sports media show does bold predictions. The problem is nobody's checking to make sure they're bold, right? Bold prediction, Kyle Filipowski, 8 or more points today. And then they go, woo, 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 bold predictions. And it's like, no, that's not bold. So we have something we call the bold enough bell. Sounds like this. And the not bold enough buzzer. I make a prediction that I feel is bold. If it's not bold enough, I'll get the buzzer, and I have to continuously on the spot make it more bold until I get the bell. I'll stay with Duke. My example was Duke. I'll stay with Duke.
Okay.
Jared McCain, 4+ threes today against Vermont.
Okay.
I say it for this reason. He, in their only ACC tournament game, bumped heads with his teammate in warm-ups and had stitches on his eyebrow, and it swelled up, and his eye didn't open all the way, and it affected him. I could tell he's maybe the best shooter. Maybe the best shooter in the ACC, and let's just say he wasn't in that game. So I think he's going to be looking to prove some things. And as somebody that has had stitches on your face, it swells up, but it goes away rather quickly. Like, it's not going to be affecting you a week later. It's kind of like a puffer fish for like 48 hours, and then you're back to mostly normal. So I think he's going to be looking to knock down some threes, maybe even doing that whole transition 3 thing where he slams on the brakes when he could have a layup because a 3 is a layup to him. Next up, we'll go to State for tomorrow's game against Oakland. Mo Diarra, 20+ points. DJ Burns is going to be at the top of everyone's scouting report. Ben Middlebrooks just had a 20-piece in the first round against Texas Tech, so he's going to be circled on the scouting report. Yet NC State still has a massive advantage in the post, and Diarra scored 17 this past game that I don't think anybody noticed, right? Everyone wants to talk about Middlebrooks. Everyone wants to talk about Burns. Diarra is and I say this with the most high compliment, he's a trash man. He's grabbing boards, dunking it. He's grabbing loose balls, dunking it. He's grabbing errant passes, dunking it. He can do some things down low, and now he's mixing in an occasional 3. which is a whole other side element.
He's confident shooting it.
I said this about 3/4 of the way through the year. He just started taking and making threes, and I was going, "You're telling me you could have done this all along? Really?" I think he scores 20+ versus Oakland just because the focus goes on other guys, and State will just say, "All right, fine, Mo's game." Now we'll go with a North Carolina one. Armando Bacot grabs 15+ rebounds versus Michigan State. 15+.
Yeah, he's done it 6 straight NCAA tournament games. He's on a heater. Come on.
7 would be bold.
It would.
I almost
But
got
it's
there.
not real bold.
I almost got. All right. Well, it's not really bold. It's real, like authentic. It's like certified.
Yeah, yep.
16+.
Need more than just rebounds here.
Okay. I'll go 16 and 16 at least.
16 and 16?
That's a heck of a double-double. 16 and 16.
Hey, he went 20 and 15 yesterday.
Against, no disrespect, Wagner.
Yeah, well.
Michigan State.
Still did it.
Different beast. 16 and 16 at least. I'm fine with that. Tonight, the Canes play in Washington. Kuzi, multiple points. Multiple goals? All right. I'm a big narrative bettor. I think he is going to, like, not in a vengeful way. I don't think he's out there like, I need to prove to them. I think more in like a fun-loving way. Like, I just want to relive the good times. We were just in Capital One Arena. There's a lot of pictures of Kuzi on the wall, Kuznetsov, holding, in a group that's holding up the cup, celebrating the cup, hugging after a goal in the Stanley Cup Finals. I do think there's a narrative bet here, a narrative pick here, where he's going to want to put on a show for a group that, he means something to him. It's going back to your hometown. It's Jalen Withers in Charlotte.
There you go.
Kuzi in Washington. We're crossing all the paths here.
My bold prediction for tonight when it comes to that for Kuznetsov, he gets multiple goals, including a game winner in overtime.
Whoa.
That's a bold prediction.
Give yourself a bell.
Thank you.
And you know what else he gets? Maybe 2 trips to the box. I think he's going to do a little bit of everything. I think the energy is going to be through the roof for Kuzi. Last one I have for you here.
Okay.
This is not related to the triangle, but it's kind of related to the triangle because I thought it was going to be related to the triangle. I think Calipari and Kentucky part ways by Monday.
Whoa. Okay.
I think it probably would have happened after the game, after they lost to Oakland, if I believe I read his buyout is $33 million.
He signed a 10-year, $86 million extension, if I remember correctly. I looked it up last night. 10-year, $86 million extension that basically keeps him through the end of this decade.
I don't think it keeps him through the end of this decade.
Yeah.
I don't think it keeps him through the end of this weekend. I think the reason why it takes until maybe Sunday, maybe Monday morning, is because they have to go raise the $33 million. So they got to go talk to their big boosters and everything and go, hey, if you want to move on, this is what you got to move. I just think that's kind of how it goes down.
I'm also wondering if it's like quote unquote like mutually parting of ways, but also let's agree to a buyout number. Like, all right,
or we'll keep you in an advisory role, right? Because you have a national championship and they don't want to just kick them to the curb. You have what you don't want to have happen, because in college sports, this is just a quick story. A lot of times the players, especially if it's a coach who's a player's coach, are more loyal to the coach than to the school. What you don't want to have happen is to have Calipari go take a job at, Louisville. Just because that would be hilarious. And
it would be.
And suddenly you have like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at Midnight Madness for Louisville, right? You don't want Derrick Rose showing up at Kentucky's if you're Memphis. You don't want, you know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure you stay on Calipari's good side as much as you can, because that might come with Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall and. So just some food for thought here during Bold Predictions. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. That is Bold Predictions. Anything else you want to throw out? You threw out a bold prediction there.
I did throw out one.
Anything else on that's burning in your old noggin?
No,
Okay.
I got nothing.
All right. You did call an overtime game winner for Kuzi.
About as bold as it gets.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. NC State versus Oakland tomorrow. Team of Destiny versus Team of Destiny. Who's more destined? Coming up next. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. NC State, the Wolfpack, America's team, gets to take their run of destiny and match it up against someone else's run of destiny tomorrow. NC State right now has a team playing for their coach, catching lightning in a bottle, has a ton of good vibes, and a player that has become one of America's sweethearts. Oakland, their opponent tomorrow, has a team playing for their coach, catching lightning in a bottle, has a ton of good vibes, and has a player that has become one of America's sweethearts. It is a little bit of an unstoppable force meets a immovable object. It is a little bit of a battle of that. For NC State, obviously, Kevin Keats, the job security questions has become a rallying thing, whether they want to admit it or not. They've not only earned their coach job security, but an extension and a huge raise. DJ Burns, America's sweetheart, a team full of good vibes that just ran through the AACC tournament. Was it Greg Campy for Oakland? Their coach, he's been there 40 years.
It's a long time.
At Oakland, the same, by the way, Oakland, not in California. This is the Oakland in Michigan. Of
course, because that's what we all think of.
The suburb of Detroit. He has been there 40 years, and he just beat Kentucky. 40 years in, he got a signature win. Jack Golke, capturing the country, right? He is this year's version of he's going to be in a cubicle next year, but this year he just outplayed a bunch of draft picks on Kentucky. Team full of good vibes. They just beat Kentucky. So now you bring these two teams together and you go, well, one of you is going to have this run ended. And how do you make sure it's not NC State that's having their run ended? That's the challenge. That's everything. Let's first call a spade a spade. Oakland can shoot. At least Golke can. He was off the bench, by the way. Gave him a 32-piece against Kentucky off the pine. They can shoot. But State can bully them. State can continue to pound the ball down low. They can bully them. Here's what Kevin Keats said about their first-round matchup, which was obviously a win against Texas Tech and the advantage they had in the post.
Really good, well-coached Texas Tech team, and they pushed us to the limit. I thought we had a incredible size advantage. When you look at DJ Burns and you look at the way Ben played, and then Mo, I thought those guys really delivered for us inside and did a lot of good things. And we got stronger in the second half. I thought we started defending. I thought more in the first half was more of an offensive game, and we decided to sit down and defend and did some good things. And then we completely played the game through our post. We kind of went inside out, and I think it really worked out for us.
I think they run it back. I think they run it back. I think they run their offense completely through the post. Oakland doesn't really have anyone in their rotation taller than 6'7". State has 3 bigs that are playing well right now, all of them a nightmare for anyone who is 6'7" or under. Middlebrooks, I don't think he's going to score 20-plus every game, right? How many consecutive buckets did he score where they had to announce that it was his career high? I'm like, if 14 was his career high, we're aware 18 is his career high.
In case you tuned in late.
It's still a career high. We got it. But one thing Middlebrooks absolutely is just a load of mass, right? He is significantly less Porsche on the highway and more like school bus in a demo derby. He's coming down the lane, and if you're there, buckle up.
He's a little bit of a bull at a china shop here.
And he was showing more finesse than we have seen, but even like the up and unders and the reverse layups he was going for, the 4 steps before the finesse were all power. He's like coming down the baseline, just boom, 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 finesse. Mo Diarra is 90%. I'm convinced he's 90% hustle, right? He gets a rebound, the elbows come out like he's an old school big. Feels like he should be wearing a what's it? The Patrick Ewing wristbands around the wrist.
Yes.
And the knee pads. Like, it feels like he's from 1994, and Pat Riley should be his coach. Like, that's where Diarra is coming from. If you're 6'4", 6'6", and you're trying to defend Diarra, that's unfortunate because your head is elbow height. Like, it's just, you're going to get bullied. And then, I mean, we just talked for, well, I'm looking at my clock here, 4 minutes about NC State bullying people, and we didn't mention DJ Burns. They told the story on the broadcast. I didn't know this, which is rare because it was kind of fun watching the broadcast learn about DJ Burns in real time because it's like, oh, he has footwork. Oh, he has touch. And I'm going like, it's kind of his thing. Like, are you surprised that, like, you know, Verlander has a fastball? We are aware. Did you know Shohei plays both hitter and pitcher? Here's the story. They said that he played football all the way up until 8th grade, and then he got his first scholarship offer from Winthrop. And as soon as he got his scholarship offer, he called up the high school football coach and said, "I'm not playing football." You know who was the most bummed person in the country that day? That high school football coach. He's going, wait a second. I finally got one in my school district. I finally got the big guy that moves like a small guy. I finally got the guy, and you're telling me the Winthrop offer is the one that's going to do him in? Plays football for 2 years. I could get him Notre Dame. I could get him Bama. I could get him, and he's bailing because of the Winthrop offer. But he can bully guys. And do you know what I think is the best part about DJ Burns? Similar to Verlander. This was an unintentional deal. Sometimes the best part about him bullying people is just the threat of bullying people, right? You see whoever's guarding him get down into like a 3-point stance, and he's just like, oh, I got you. I don't even have to run into you, right? Just the threat of me bullying you has you in a situation that I can just manipulate, right? And then he hits the running baby jump hook, and the guy is in a full squat next to him with no chance to contest just because of the threat, right? Just like a pitcher uses the threat of a 102-mile-an-hour fastball to get the slider through, right? To get the changeup. Sometimes that's the best way to do it, and I expect them to use those three guys a ton against Oakland. Now, they could go quick double. They could do things that undersized teams do against big bad bullies, but guess what that means? That means you're daring NC State to get DJ Horn going, who's actually their best player, right? The matchup has led to the big guys looking like the best player, but only one of the NC State Wolfpack was an all-ACC pick, and it was DJ Horn. And he carried them through large stretches of the season, and he's looking healthier and healthier by the day. Yeah, sure. Pack in the paint. Dare DJ Horn to beat you and learn how far that gets you.
What about the other side of the ball, though? You're playing against a smaller team. Can guys like Burns and Middlebrooks keep up with some of these guys on the perimeter? Because if you have two bigs on the floor, you're gonna have someone's got to go on the perimeter and defend.
Yes, and that's where Diarra comes in huge. He is going to have to use lateral quickness, and Middlebrooks is probably going to have to as well. The thing with the
that's the game within the game, though.
The game within the game. The thing with mid-majors is they do usually play with a post. When I'm sitting here saying they have no one in their rotation that's 6'7" or above, it's usually just because, like, you know, not many people in their conference have 7-footers, so their 6'7" guy, like, he plays the post, right? So that's where you stash Burns, right? Whoever the post is, whoever's their quote-unquote center, you stash Burns there. And Burns still isn't playing more than 25, 27 minutes. It's just they don't use him, especially if foul trouble gets involved. So yeah, Middlebrooks and Diarra are going to have to guard the perimeter, but that's no different than they've been all year. Their defense was very good yesterday, by the way. Yesterday. Got to get my days bleeding together. I will say announcer's jinx, I don't believe in it because I've been an announcer who says, like, oh, he's made the last 6 free throws, and then he misses it. And I'm like, I didn't have anything to do with that. But there was a boatload of Texas Tech hasn't scored in 3 minutes. It's a 3-minute scoring drought for Texas Tech, and they put the graphic up, and it's counting 306, 307, 308. 100% a difficult three was being made by Texas Tech right after that. It was unbelievable. But what that means is a lot of times State was forcing Tech into scoring droughts. They then broke the scoring drought, but it was happening. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. That was a game last night, and it will be played tomorrow, right? State will be back on the court tomorrow. Same thing for North Carolina, only instead of playing a team that might be just happy to be there in Oakland, they're playing Michigan State, a team that makes a living in March. What does NC State have to do to take away that living? Stick around. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. North Carolina advanced to the second round of the NCAA tournament yesterday. A win over Wagner. They're going to be tested tomorrow. Schematically. They're going to be tested between the ears. Michigan State. Michigan State doesn't have the to use a term that the Carolina Panthers use, the dogs that they've had at times in Tom Izzo's career, right? They don't have the super-duper elite athletes. Tyson Walker can score, right, a transfer from Northeastern. They have some good basketball players.
He's good.
But, you think of Michigan State with Izzo, you think of, obviously the Jason Richardsons, the Bells, the Mateen Cleaves, but even, more recently, Miles Bridges, right? They usually have some guys that are just unbelievable athletes, 5 stars, top guys, performing very well all season. This hasn't been that year for Michigan State. But you know what they do have?
What's that?
Tom Izzo.
They do have Tom Izzo.
Tom Izzo is legendary in the tournament. And UNC's aware of it. Here's Harrison Ingram of UNC talking about how pumped he is to play Michigan State and Tom Izzo.
I'm gonna be lit. That's me. I'm gonna be lit. That's gonna be a game. I'm gonna be ready to go, and I have all the energy in the world. And I think to beat a team like that against Tom Izzo, you gotta come out with energy. You gotta come out. You gotta play hard because we know he's gonna have a good scout. I mean, it's Coach Izzo. He's been doing this for what? How many? 100? Like a lot of years. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time. I remember watching him when I was younger, and it's kind of gonna be crazy to play against him.
When you were younger, it could have been when you were negative.
I'm like, I remember watching him when I was younger. What do you mean, sir? Were you born when they won their last national championship? Probably not, because it was a long time ago.
He probably not, right? It was 2000.
It was 2000.
He might be 24.
No, he's not. Harrison Ingram, he's a true junior.
Okay, I just everyone in college basketball.
Ryan.
The average age in college has gone so far up that I just don't even, it doesn't make sense to me anymore. Here's what Tom Izzo is legendary for. Like the tournament. He is legendary at the quick turnaround. He is legendary at putting together elite game plans with 36 hours to do it. It's what he does. It's why Michigan State is so consistently outperforming their seed in the tournament. Many, maybe even someone on this show, said that Michigan State shouldn't have been in the tournament.
Who, me?
You said it. I think I seconded it, but you were the one that definitely stood on business about it. But I also I can actively say I don't think they deserve to be in the tournament. They're one of 2 teams and the only non-conference champion that made it into the tournament with less than 20 wins. They had 19 wins. So I do think there's a part of me that says the season has to matter. But guess what else I did? I said on the show I do not think they deserve to be in the tournament, and then I picked them on my bracket to win because I'm like their body of work says they shouldn't be in. But I'm pretty confident Tom Izzo is going to have them ready to play in the tournament, probably even have a better team than they did during the regular season. He knows how to coach in the tournament. And do you know what he does? He finds whatever you're insecure about, and he attacks that. Dennis and I were just talking about there's a great stand-up routine by John Mulaney where he talks about middle schoolers being the meanest kids on earth, meanest people on earth, because they find the things that you're already insecure about yourself about, and they make fun of you for that, right? And the punchline, and I'm not going to do like a John Mulaney, but just in case you're curious, is like, ha ha, look at that man over there with the look at that high-waisted man over there with the feminine hips. And then John Mulaney, very kind of exacerbated goes, that's something I'm already insecure about. It's funnier when he says it. I'll explain that one. You can go look it up on YouTube. But that kind of makes me go like this. I think Tom Izzo is the mean middle schooler of the NCAA tournament. Like, he's going to find the things that you aren't confident about in your game, and he is going to attack, and he's going to attack, and he is going to twist the knife, and he is going to find a way to use that to their advantage. So you have to be prepared to do what you do worst, right? You have to be prepared to have to stand on the thing that you hate doing. And every team has it, right? Every team has a weakness. Every team has something they don't like doing. You just have to do it against Michigan State. It's a very football coach post-game press conference thing where they say, like, win or lose, I know that nobody's going to like playing against us. They're going to be, we're going to play a physical brand of football, and after the game, they're going to be tired, exhausted, and nobody's going to have a fun time playing against us. Nobody has fun playing against Michigan State. You might win, right? Heck, you might win by double figures. But to do that, you're going to have to do the thing that you enjoy doing the least. You're like, you know what? We're an up and down team. We love to shoot. We got these flamethrowers on the wings, and RJ Davis loves to be. There's no doubt in my mind it's going to have to be like mid-range jumpers or something. Like whatever is the thing you do the least often and the least well, they're just going to test it. They're going to make you prove that it's not something that's going to do you in.
So watching Michigan State yesterday go against Mississippi State, one thing that Mississippi State did on occasion was actually go zone defense. And this is where Michigan State was able to get a lot of corner threes from guys like Tyson Walker. Jaden Atkins also hit a couple three-pointers as well. But we've said this throughout the season.
Yep.
When North Carolina struggles is when teams flip between zone and man-to-man defenses. We actually saw Wagner yesterday go a little bit of zone defense at times. Now, granted, they were only playing with 7 players, so you might doing that just to keep legs a little bit during the course of a game. But they did that, and it still gave Carolina some problems. There was actually a moment I was sitting behind Carolina's bench where even Hubert Davis said we're being too casual, with the basketball. And when playing against his own defense, there was no sense of urgency from that. So I'm wondering if we might see Michigan State do that. Might just throw a zone defense out at Carolina at times just to throw them off their rhythm. Now, Michigan State doesn't get much in terms of post-production scoring-wise. Like Carson Cooper's a big-bodied guy. He's basically what Ben Middlebrooks normally is for NC State, with the exception of being what he did last night.
I think I called him a school bus in a demolition derby.
I mean, pretty much. That's kind of what he is. But he's similar in that sense. Matty Sissoko, also just another big guy. They don't get a lot of bench production. It's normally the perimeter-based guys. A matchup I'm intrigued about seeing, Malik Hall, who's like 6'7", wing guy, plays the 4 in their starting lineup.
Modern basketball.
Yeah, it's like, anyway, he's 6'7", athletic. I think he and Harrison Ingram, those two matched up against each other is going to be fun to watch. But I think you talk about finding the weakness, Michigan State might throw some zone defenses out at Carolina just to throw them off in the half court.
There's no doubt in my mind that Tom Izzo will have Michigan State ready to play a different defense on 6 consecutive possessions.
Yeah.
And he will
1-3-1. Now 2-3.
1-3-1 matchup, half court trap, like a man full court. Like it's gonna be rapid fire, bing, 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 and he's gonna deploy it at a moment where he thinks UNC is vulnerable. Right? Michigan State goes on a 6-0 run, then bing, 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 bing. UNC misses 2 gimmies. Bing, 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 bing. He's going to hit him with it. And UNC's just going to have to prove that it's not something that will do them in. He's going to keep probing. He's going to keep trying. It's Izzo in the tournament. I can't emphasize enough. You're going to have to do everything, like anything on your own self-scout that says needs improvement, you're going to have to prove you can do it, right? When you watch your own team and go, all right, we got to work on transition defense, he's going to run. If you watch your own team scout and then you say, all right, we don't do great offensively in the pick and roll, somehow he's going to make you call pick and rolls. Like it's Izzo. It's Izzo in the tournament.
By the way, they run.
I don't know why I felt like I just described Yoda in the tournament, where I'm like, he's going to control your brain. It's Izzo. You can't explain it all.
Professor X over here.
Something like it. He loses. Don't get me wrong. It's not like he has a billion national championships. He has 1.
By the way, speaking of national championships, last time Carolina and Michigan State played in the NCAA tournament, 2009 national championship game.
So he's gotten there. It's not like he wins every time, but he makes the other team earn it. He makes them do the hard stuff well. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. You need grit. You need toughness to beat someone like Tom Izzo. You need grit. You need toughness to win in the NCAA tournament. Duke, how confident are you in your grit and your toughness when you take on Vermont tonight? We'll talk about it coming up. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. If you listen to Duke, if you believe, pay attention to, and listen to Duke, their real goal starts tonight. Everything before this was, that's lesser. Remember, they lost to UNC in the regular season. We're aiming for the postseason. They lost to NC State in the ACC tournament. Oh, our tournament starts next week.
Yeah, like we're going for the NCAA tournament.
We're worried about Phoenix. Well, guess what?
They literally said that too.
I know. Like I said, if you listen to and believe, I'm not putting any words in their mouth.
We were in the locker room when those words were spoken.
So there's no more of that. The safety net is gone. There's no tomorrow for this team. Your goal starts tonight, and Vermont is a team that let's be real, they're Vermont. But they're a good version of Vermont. They've won 10 straight. They've won 19 of their last 20, right? They're a team that can do some things if you let them do some things. I think Duke needs to Crocodile Dundee 'em, which is a reference from a movie that I think none of these players would have even been alive for. Maybe Cormac Ryan. That's an old joke for a UNC player that's been in college forever. But there's one scene that everybody knows from Crocodile Dundee, right? You call that a knife? That's not a knife. This is a knife. And then he takes out like a machete, right? Like just a giant blade. And he's like, this is a knife. I think Duke needs to do that, right? They need to look at Vermont and say, that's a good team you got there, but that's not a team. This is a team, right? That's a nice bit of talent you have there. That's a nice assembly of talent you have there. But this is an NBA player. This is a lottery pick. This is Duke basketball. You need to get Vermont staring at the pinstripes, right? We used to watch Duke on TV. Now we're playing against them. Whoa. You need to use that to your advantage, right? You need to look at everything that Vermont does and say, that might work against Albany, but this is Duke. And if you do that early, you can kind of, I don't want to say cruise because you never want to take your foot off the gas, but you can be in control for most of the game. And I don't know if there is a team that is more in need of being in control most of the game than Duke. Duke has not won a game in 2 weeks. Actually, let me bring this up. I have their schedule right in front of me. Do you realize how long it's been since Duke's won a basketball game?
Been a minute.
March 4th.
Gosh, really?
NC State was the last basketball game they won.
Wow, the final. Wow.
And keep in mind, NC State has beaten them since in a much more important environment in the ACC tournament.
Since then, NC State has won 6 games.
They lost another and then won 6.
And then won 6.
NC State, March 4th is the last time Duke won a basketball game. So I do think it is important for them. You might be saying like, oh, Vermont, oh, what seed are they? Oh, they're a 13 seed. Like, oh, why are you making a big – because the team needs a win. A team needs a win, and they'll take it by any means necessary. They haven't won a game since March 4th. It's March 22nd. And it's not like the losses they've suffered have been like, oh, those are cool. They lost to North Carolina at home in a rivalry game, and they lost in their only ACC tournament game. Look at Vermont and remind yourself who you are, right? Don't forget that you're Duke, that you have NBA players, that you have top recruits. Caleb Foster is done for the year. I hear you. That stinks. That means Sean Stewart, Ryan Young, TJ Power, get ready. You're 2 quick fouls away from playing like 10 first half minutes. That is not an exaggeration. 1 injury away from being a starter on a team that expects to make a run in the NCAA tournament. This is the last chance Duke has for a reset. They've played 1 game in 12 days. You didn't end the regular season well. You didn't play the ACC tournament well. This is your last chance to reset. This is your last chance to take out the N64 game, blow on the cartridge, and put it back in and say, haha, we didn't hit save. Don't take it lightly. You know, it's funny because I think one of the themes of the ACC this year, and right, this is kind of, you know, you look back at the season in retrospect, and it's like the end of the whodunit movie when you're like, oh, there were clues to this all over the place, and I should have picked up on it, right? You know, at the end of The Departed, you recognize that there's a giant X on the screen right before someone dies every single time. If you didn't know that, it's true. It happens. It's like I should have noticed that. How did I not? And now you'll never be able to unsee it. One of the themes of the ACC tournament has been frustration with talent not being realized, right? Everything in college basketball is about potential, and there's so much potential, and it wasn't realized. Wake Forest, what was Wake Forest? Nothing but an assemblage of talent that seems like it fit together so well, and they just never put together the consistency. What was NC State? An assemblage of talent, so many transfers coming in, and you were waiting for them to put it together, and they finally did at quite literally the last possible second to win the ACC tournament and win an NCAA tournament game. Duke is not dissimilar to that. You're looking at it going, wait, you're telling me they're going to have 2 first-round picks? You're telling me they have Mark Mitchell, who's a very, very good stretch 4. You're telling me they have, at the time, Caleb Foster off the bench? You're telling me TJ Powers, one of the best shooters in the country, can't get in the rotation? You're telling me they have a veteran in Jeremy Roach who's supposed to be the calming presence that gets everything going in the right direction? You're telling me they have all of this and still they're soft, and still they aren't winning the games against their top competition, and still they're not putting it together? Well, let's look at the 2 teams, right, that we brought up. Wake Forest never got it going. They never learned how to be consistent. They never learned how to put 4, 5, 6 great games together.
They couldn't win on the road.
NC State figured out how to do it the last possible second. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what, Duke? This is your last possible second. This is your... If it doesn't happen now, you don't have a chance to try next week. If you're down to your last quarter at the arcade, you're either going to get the high score or you're going to have to leave. This is your last chance to reset. So you could look at it as Vermont is another team you can out-talent. You could, right? Vermont is another team that you can go out there and you don't need to be the toughest team on the court. Right? You don't need to be gritty. You don't need to show edge. You don't need to. But then you're just going another game without solving the problem that is 100% going to do you in. Right? It's you go to the doctor. Luckily, I haven't had any of this experience. But you go to the doctor and say there's like, hey, you got to get your weight under control, or hey, you got to start eating healthier, or hey, you're going to have to start working out, or else... Right? That's going to be the thing that does you in, right? Then you have a choice. You can either fix it or you can just know how you will meet your end. And if a basketball season is a life, I'm telling Duke, I'm the doctor in this situation. Hey, your toughness, your grit, that's going to be the thing that does you in if you don't get on top of it now. Right? This is going to be the cause that meets your ultimate end. Unless you fix it right now. Well, it's just Vermont. Sure, you could make it through Vermont without being the toughest team on the court. You might not. You could. What about the second round? What about the third round? Right? If you were Vermont, I'd be saying like, hey man, make it to the third round. That's the biggest success your program's had in a long time. Unfortunately, you're Duke, so you count championships. You count Final Fours. If you want to accomplish those goals, if you want to get to those lofty heights, you're going to have to solve the problem that I'm talking about. Imagine I'm talking to Duke and they're on, like doing the stress test where they're on the treadmill with like tubes up their nose and monitors on their arms taking pulse and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, yeah, you know what? You're going to have to get tougher or else, these problems aren't going to go away. These numbers aren't going to come down. You're just going to have to get tougher. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan.
It's amazing. They've, like you mentioned, they haven't won a game since March 4th. Mm-hmm. They've only played 2 games Since then, they obviously lost at home at Cameron to UNC, and they lost their first NCAA or ACC tournament game, I should say, to NC State, which was
it's
Thursday of last week.
Like losing the first round of the ACC tournament's kind of like missing the front end of a 1-1. It's like you're 0 for 2 from the line. They were both front ends of 1-1, so it's really 0 for 4. You know what I mean? Like, they played 2 games, they lost them both. But really, it's like losing 4 games because they lost the front end of a 1-1 with 3 shots. You know what I mean? That could have been more in the ACC tournament. They just didn't even get to see the next one. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. We have to make our picks for the weekend. It's a Friday. We're on early, but still, we got to make our picks. That's coming up. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. It's time to make our picks, and we will, I promise. But first, a few things. First of all, we want to send out our support to the Maniscalcos. Mike Maniscalco, voice of the Canes, who you hear on 99.9 The Fan every single time the Canes play, had I believe his mother-in-law passed away. Rough season for Mike. He had I believe his dad passed. I want to make sure I get all this right, obviously. His dad passed away earlier this year, so he just put out a thank you to everybody that reached out to him and passed on supportive words. So we want to make sure we're part of that chorus, letting him know that we support him, thinking about him, and everyone in his family, everyone in their community. So there you go. Thank you, Mike. We support you. And now, programming notes. Speaking of, we're gonna have the Canes on later today.
Yep, 6:30 Storm Watch with Adam Gold.
And tomorrow we just got basketball.
We just got basketball all day starting at noon. Which, by the way, we know the tip-off times for Carolina. They are a 5:30 tip-off against Michigan State, and then a 7:10 scheduled tip-off for NC State and Oakland. But again, you can hear all that on the Fan. If you want to hear the NC State specific broadcast, it will be over on over on Mix 101.5, our sister station, Mix 101.5. If you want to hear Duke basketball in action tonight, their coverage starts at about 6 o'clock today over on Buzz Sports Radio. So again, wall-to-wall basketball coverage. Then on Sunday, we're going to have basketball games for you as well. The Canes are in action at home. Canes on Sunday is a national broadcast, so if you want to hear the local, Trip and everybody, you got to listen to it right here on 99.9 The Fan. In that case, also, if Duke wins, we'll have that game over on Buzz Sports Radio as well. So basketball on Buzz Sports Radio. Tons of sports. Just stay locked in. We got you covered.
And on top of that, basketball coverage starts right here in about 13 minutes.
Yeah, let's go.
So let's go ahead and get to our picks so we can get ready for the games. Go ahead and set us up there, Dennis.
Well, actually, I'm going to go hockey first before I get into the basketball.
Right,
Let's go hockey first. Canes in action tonight on the road in Washington. Homecoming for Kuznetsov and Orlov.
I've already predicted a big game from Kuzi.
Yes. Multiple goals.
I'm gonna go 4-1.
Okay.
Go 4-1. More down the middle, more traditional after last night kind of being a crazy game. 4-1.
Washington scratching and clawing to make the playoffs right now.
Yeah,
which I think they're in, actually, at this moment.
When you are scratching and clawing for the postseason, the Canes aren't the team you want to see next up on your schedule right now.
Just ask the Islanders. Hey, how'd that work out for you?
So go ahead and give me a 4-1.
I think I said this during Real Bold Predictions, but Kuznetsov, because you said multiple goals for Kuznetsov, I said multiple goals, including a game winner in overtime 4-3.
You did say.
So I'm going to stick with it. By the way, Washington at this moment, 3 points back of Detroit for the final wild card spot, but Washington does have 2 points in hand. 2 games in hand, I should say, against Detroit. So again, you're facing a team scratching and clawing, trying to get into the playoffs. All right, let's go to tonight. Duke, Vermont, 7:10 tip-off scheduled.
Duke wins. They out-talent Vermont. Big game from Flip. If there is a path towards an upset there, I think it starts with Flip in foul trouble. So he needs to make sure he is vertical on defense and not giving the ref a way to impact the game. But I think he does that. I think they win. I think it's 82-58.
Oh, okay. So they win this one relatively comfortably.
Yeah, I think it's a late pull away. But, yeah. They're
similar to Carolina yesterday.
Yeah, they're up 8, 10, 12 most of the game, and then Jared McCain. In my bold predictions, I have Jared McCain hitting, I think, 4+ threes.
Yeah.
So, he hits 2 or 3 transition threes, and suddenly it's like an 8-point game. When did it become 20? Like it's one of those. What are you going with?
I'm gonna go Duke in this one tonight as well. I think it's a little bit closer, a little bit more tight or lower scoring, tighter game. Give me like a 74-61.
74-61? Okay.
Yeah, just because,
again, a more grinded, ugly game.
Duke just hasn't played a lot of basketball, like you said, in the last 2.5 weeks.
Very true.
They just haven't played, so you got to get back into the rhythm of playing some basketball. All right, next one up here. Let's go to tomorrow. Michigan State, North Carolina in Charlotte, 5:30 tip-off.
I think this one is a paint-by-numbers win for UNC, which is what we've seen from them a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Close at half, within one possession at half, and then they win by 12. I'll go 82-70. But I do think that Michigan State makes them earn it, and UNC has done that a bunch of times where it's close at half, close a couple minutes into the second half, and then they methodically kind of pulverize. So I think that's what they're doing.
84-76, Carolina wins this one.
Yeah, similar.
84-76. I think this is actually going to be a pretty tightly contested game. I will say this about Michigan State. One thing I noticed yesterday, their guards are a little bit bigger. Tyson Walker's probably similar in terms of build to R.J. Davis. When we look at some other guys like Jaden Atkins or even A.J. Hoggard, built a little bit bigger than what we might see from Elliot Cadeau or Seth Trimble. So they're a little bit bigger on the perimeter, but I still think the advantage is inside for Carolina. I think Baycott really eats tomorrow. Now, I'm interested to see. Michigan State did yesterday defensively double team in the post real fast against Mississippi State's bigs. I don't know if you could do that because of Baycott's vision. I mean, it's intriguing to see what Michigan State's going to do defensively against Carolina. All right, let's go to tomorrow. 7:10 tip-off, NC State, Oakland. A double-digit seed guarantee into the Sweet 16.
I'm taking State. I think they got a little bit of bracket luck here. Kentucky would have scared me for a few different reasons. I think they would have been better able to handle the size of NC State. I don't think Oakland can match them up down low. So again, I'm picking a bunch of boring games that aren't going to be down to the wire. We all want buzzer beaters in March Madness. 72-62.
72-62?
Yeah, I think it's a double-digit win. State's playing well right now.
By the way, since we are on YouTube Live right now, there are some NC State fans that have been leaving their thoughts in the comments section here on the chat on YouTube Live, including Rob says, I hope I am not putting a hoax on State, but this is the first time in about a month that I really think State should win against Oakland.
I think the Louisville game to open the ACC tournament was the last time State fans were, confident. Other than that, it's been, I hope they win.
Yeah, I think even the Louisville game was, I hope they win. Going into that one because they lost 4 straight going into that one. Gosh, they lost 7 out of 9 to close out the regular season.
We were just talking about this. I was watching the games last night, and a graphic came up on the screen, and they're still using to show the form that a team is in to show who's hot in the later part of the season. They're using record over the last 10 games.
Yeah.
So they had a whole bunch of teams. I don't know maybe a region. I don't know what the other teams were, but it said last 10 games. State was 6-4. I was like, that doesn't tell the whole story.
It really doesn't.
They might be the hottest team in the country, but when you show that, it looks like they've been playing mediocre basketball. They're 6-4 in their last 10. This whole new run for State is still brand new. 6 games ago, they were coming off 4 straight losses they were maybe the least momentum team in the country, and it just changed on a dime. So, yeah, you're completely right to be like, wait a second, am I believing in this team?
Well, that's where Andrew online on the YouTube chat says, round of 32 is the first game in 6 that I feel good about State winning, which, of course, makes me feel bad.
Yes, it's different. It's like, wait a second, I'm kind of in a routine here. I don't think they're going to win, and they do. I don't think they're going to win, and they do. Now I think they're going to win. I don't like the way that routine got thrown off.
We have State fans here in the building with us, and they're walking around we should beat Oakland. I don't like that. I don't like the feeling of that.
Kentucky won. I'd be way more confident in my lack of confidence.
We're not supposed to have nice things. That's what all State fans I've talked to said. We're not supposed to have nice things. So my prediction on this one, give me NC State 84-71.
My prediction
that's my number today.
Is a full day of sports watching for me, you, and everybody else.
Yes.
And sports listening here on 99.9 The Fan. The coverage of the tourney starts up in about 5 minutes. We have Canes later on. We have basketball all day tomorrow. We have basketball and Canes all day Sunday. Be sure if you want to check out other broadcasts, we have Mix, one of our sister stations, 101.5 for the state broadcast. We have Duke over on Buzz Sports Radio. So there's basketball all over the place. Please check it out. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, 99.9 The Fan. Please check out the Adam Gold Show coming up next on Buzz Sports Radio from right here in this same studio. Until tomorrow, check Monday. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the basketball. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the hockey.
all they have to offer at deepriversportingclays.com. I know as the weather